Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AI Techies podcast. This is the first episode of the AI Techies podcast. We are three dudes that are full time into AI. All into AI was another contender for the names. We'll see what the name is next week, but we're planning to do this every week. Every week, we talk about the latest news in AI and what happens in AI land. AI land moves so fast, and our WhatsApp chat is literally full of news and memes and whatever is happening. So we would love to share all of that with you guys. So yeah, welcome to the show, Ben and Luca. Let's do a quick intro because the first episode, nobody knows who we are. Ben, let's start with you. You have quite an interesting background and some cool products running. So give us a TLDR.
Yeah, I'm from New York. My name's Ben. I've been an indie hacker for about 3 years now. I've got three different SaaS products on the market. The first one I started with was super simple AI cover letter generator, just writes cover letters for people using AI. Built that right after ChatGPT came out and kind of saw that there was a need for being able to build these products using AI. And then the next one was Interview Sidekick, which is a product that helps people throughout the job interview process. And now I'm working on Sales Echo, which is a real-time AI sales call assistant. So it listens to the call, tells you what you could say, improve. You can improve after the call and even practice before the call happens. So that's what I'm doing professionally. Also nomading like the two of you guys do. So currently in Namibia.
In Namibia, I've heard a lot of nice things about Namibia. Quick one? Have you seen these sand dunes with the different color schemes, the typical photos? Have you been there?
Yeah. We did ATVing last week, which was a lot of fun, and we were like sandboarding down like three stories worth of of sand dunes, and then you got to like walk back up. So that was pretty cool. And yeah, no, apparently Dune actually was filmed in Namibia, and so was
Hmm.
Mad Max. So yeah.
Oh, sick. We've been playing Dune here every week. It's like the biggest nerdy board game, and it takes like 3 to 4 hours. We try to do this every week. It's quite fun.
Oh, nice. Okay,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't know
yeah.
there was a game. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for real nerds, but it's real fun. And I've been skiing basically every other day, so I don't have to walk up back the mountains. I can take the lifts, so it's a bit better than the
Yeah.
sand. How about you, Luca?
Yeah.
I thought you were coming over to Bulgaria, but I haven't seen you here. Where are you at?
Hey Rick, yo man, I've been really pondering coming back. Last year was super. As you know, like living in Bansko, you ski, you do the sauna in the evening, and you just kind of hang out with cool people. So I did miss it a lot this season, but I've just introduced myself a bit. I've been running businesses for the past 10 years. Started out with nightlife tourism, moved into residency and investment for digital nomads at a point. And then I did a metaverse company 5 years ago. That's when I first got into tech. After 3 years doing that, I started an AI fashion company, got acqui-hired last year, and just made a big move 2 weeks ago to follow my inspiration because my God, there's so much inspiration everywhere. Like you just log in online and you see new ways you can leverage technology and just tackle ideas. And since last December, I launched a small project and then kicked off a public campaign this week. So this time it's inside of the legal space, legal slash property space, and I'm building a very micro SaaS that's targeting the judicial sales in Malta. Just could maybe explain a bit better what judicial sales are, but essentially that's what my main focus, and it's been quite exciting to go into the courtroom and build a micro SaaS based on all of the learnings and opportunities that came up from the last year. Yeah.
You you mentioned what's the right terminology here? Acqui-hire, acqui-hire.
Acquihire, yeah.
Can you explain that? Because I think it's quite relevant. One of the things that happened this past week is OpenAI basically did that with the creator of OpenClaw, right? So maybe can you
Exactly.
quickly share what is this exactly?
Look, I think many people maybe underestimate going for that kind of strategy where you build something valuable and then the best way to accelerate it is to actually join forces with a larger company that maybe has more distribution or more resources than you have on your own. And essentially for me, I started out with my own website called AI Model Agency. and I started working as a one-man show delivering AI services, AI photography services to fashion brands. But after 2 years doing that on my own, a lot of people started doing the same thing. It started to become more competitive. So I had a choice: sell it, shut down, or join forces. And I was actually trying to sell it, but the buyer didn't want to buy the company. He wanted to buy me within the kind of the knowledge that I have gained from working in that field. And instead of being paid in cash, I was paid in equity, which we don't know actually about Steven if he's been paid in cash or equity in OpenAI, right? Is that public or?
I heard some numbers in the sauna yesterday. I was mentioned 30 million, but I'm not sure. I think probably they bought him, like they hired him for 30 million, but I'm not sure about the specific numbers on how and what.
But wasn't it like 10 billion?
I don't
No,
know,
no.
Ben. What do you think?
I saw like one rumor was floated around that was around a billion, but then I think it seemed like it was like maybe 200 to 300 billion. But honestly, nobody really knows, right? Like I think what's his name? Peter Steinhauser or
Steinberger?
something?
Steinberger,
Peter
I think.
Steinberger.
I
Let me
called him
see what his
Steve.
name
Oops.
is. Yeah. No, it's okay. Yeah. I think Peter Steinberger mentioned on the Lex Friedman podcast a little bit of the details, how he was getting courted between Meta and and Sam Altman, and I could definitely see Mark having made a crazy offer because he's known to be doing that, and I think he like has acqui-hired people for, he acqui-hired Alexander Wang for at Scale AI for like $27 billion or something like that. So it's definitely not far-fetched, but I think like the rumors were maybe a couple hundred million, which is still probably the biggest acquisition for a solopreneur. I think base 144 it is. Like they were acquired for couple for like 70 million dollars, but this is like the biggest so far. Still.
Yeah, yeah.
So is he the first solo billionaire like indie hacker?
I don't think he's a
Yeah.
billionaire, bro.
Uh well, he's not a billionaire, but he's probably worth a few hundred. How much was he worth even
He
before?
sold his previous company for 110 million or that ballpark, but it's like also uncertain how much shares he owned in that or like what was the end there. But like he probably worth few like 100 plus, I would say, I guess.
Yeah.
He didn't care losing 20K per month on running OpenClaw. That's what he mentioned in his Lex Friedman podcast as well. So yeah, I think he did well, and he found it exciting to become part of a bigger company, right? Like it's something he didn't done before, and yeah, it's actually a very interesting figure. I love listening to him because he has this exploration mindset of like, oh, I want to go do new things that I've never done before, and one of those is working for a big company, and it's cool that yeah that OpenClaw stays open source. That was one of his requirements. If he gets acquired, OpenClaw should stay open source, and yeah, I think it's also a very good marketing stunt from OpenAI somehow because OpenClaw has been all around the internet. Everyone has been seeing it, and Sam, I think, jumped on that opportunity. I just asked Grok. Grok said the financial details on OpenAI's deal with Peter Steinberger have not been publicly disclosed. Then also mentioned some Lex Friedman podcast discussions. He also mentions OpenAI's pitch involved access to computable resources tied to the recent $10 billion deal. Public speculations of the value of Steinberger's deal ranges from $5 billion to over $10 billion. Would surprise me if it's going to be that much. Well, thanks for an introduction to that topic, Luca. That was a great one. Maybe we
Yeah,
stay
and
in.
just the
Yeah.
last thing on acqui-hires, I did also look it up. I think it's good. We'll just cut up at these like little things, but it's good. Like we'll all ask AIs and kind of throw in little stats. But
Mhm.
I actually saw that roughly one in three startup acquisitions are actually talent driven, right? Because it kind of makes sense if you think about it. Like software engineers are like such a competitive space, and if you're gonna like acquire a company for let's say $20 million and they've got 10 engineers, that's $2 million per engineer. And when you think about the recruiting costs and vetting that they've actually built something great, like aqua hiring is actually an awesome way to do it. So it makes a lot of sense.
The only sad part is, I mean, looking at it from the crypto lens, with my background in crypto, is you've seen a lot of these projects that had a token and were alive over the last 3-4 years, build a team around it, build a project around it, build a community around it. The community buys a token, invests in it, thinking it's sort of equity. But then recently you see quite a lot of these acquisitions where a bigger player buys the team but doesn't care about the token, and then the token just goes to zero. So yeah, that's just a little caveat on that front, but that's also the risk of crypto, I guess.
For
Interesting.
sure, you
Yeah.
definitely need to watch terms and conditions with these kind of things, and we don't know actually what the deals of OpenClaw's acquisition are. I would say the track record of OpenAI already having been open source and then finding a way to legally spin themselves into closed source is something a lot of people are worried about. But it would be crazy if they did that. I would say, but who knows what's gonna happen next.
Yeah, and not only open source, closed source, but also non-profit, for-profit. That's an extra. Staying on the OpenAI news, I've seen some tweets that OpenAI is finalizing commitments for a historic $100 billion funding round, of which NVIDIA is allegedly putting in 30 billion. I'll share my screen here, but that's like another confirmation of like, wow, damn, it's still running hot, the whole AI valuations. I was thinking maybe we're coming towards a top in valuations, like how much higher can it go? But if OpenAI is raising 100 billion, and I don't know what Anthropic has raised that recently, that's pretty incredible. That's a very high numbers. And I saw another tweet addressing this. It's not this one. It's basically explaining sort of the bubble-like territory, right? Where NVIDIA invests in OpenAI, OpenAI buys NVIDIA GPUs, their OpenAI invests in CoreWeave. Like, it's all intertwined together, and I'm wondering when or where is going to be the stop, where is going to be a value roof, basically. But I would love to hear your guys' opinions in this. Like, because at this point,
Yeah.
Sam is becoming very, very, very powerful with all this money and all these hands and everything that's going on. Multi-billion-dollar corporations that are all tied together. Same for Anthropic, just a little bit less. Like they have a little bit less of a spider web, I would say. But Ben, I think you have an opinion on this.
Yeah. Well, also, in terms of this fundraise of 100 billion, the biggest investor there, I think, is maybe Amazon, or
Mm-hmm.
I read at least they're 50 billion out of the 100, which I always
Yeah.
thought that they were one of the top investors of Anthropic, right? So it really is this kind of spray and pray where everyone's just investing in everything, which is kind of one of the biggest indicators of a bubble. Um, but the biggest risk here to me, remember DeepSeek? Remember when we all freaked out about DeepSeek? That was like over a year ago, and that was kind of leveling the playing field, and all these models were basically roughly the same in terms of performance, and DeepSeek was doing it at like a fraction of the cost. I think we're probably a few months away for something like that happening again, right? I mean, it's pretty inevitable that all these models are going to be amazing, and if we remember like how DeepSeek was able to get their model that good, well, they actually just scraped OpenAI, ChatGPT, and who's to say they're not going to do that again with ChatGPT or with Claude and Anthropic? So to me, like all these valuations, like I don't know what the right answer is. Like I think we all probably can agree that the pie is going to get bigger at a company by company basis. Like where throughout the value chain is the value going to be accrued to? I only see kind of Nvidia being like the real monopoly holder here. I don't see any real talks of other companies having performance that equals that of GPUs from Nvidia, right? I think Google TPUs, from what I've read, is they're way less performant, but they're also way cheaper. So you could just throw a lot of them. But especially in the US, where we have limited electricity, you really want to get as much performance out of these chips as possible, and that just means having all the state of the art latest NVIDIA chips. I think the Blackwell is finally coming out. So right, so these Blackwell chips are going to be in this next version of the AI models, and should be interesting to see. But I don't know, like it definitely feels frothy. If OpenAI is like on a pace to become $1 trillion company by next year, it seems.
Yeah, and then Elon is coming with his data centers in space to compete with
Yeah.
that.
Exactly. This is what I wanted to go on to next, because we're talking about Amazon being the biggest investor in OpenAI and all of these things. But it's all going to compute, right? It's all going to data centers. We know that Elon is planning on building these data centers in space, but doesn't Jeff Bezos have Blue Origin? So is there a world where Jeff Bezos is using Blue Origin to, put data centers in space for OpenAI or Anthropic, or what's going to happen there?
I think Jeff Bezos' rockets are not even close to what Elon's plan is and what timeline Elon is working on. But that's my opinion. I think Elon has done enough. Like recently, two podcasts which were quite interesting. One with moonshots, which was quite eye opening. Hearing the plans, and Elon's timelines. What he says is always shorter than what it's going to be in reality. But even then, it seems like there's a clear path to doing this. And once the data centers are in space, I think, for example, in CoreWeave, which whole business model is data center provision, like providing data centers to other businesses, are kind of a broken business model. That's probably going to be challenging. And you see that all those big players like an Amazon, like a Meta, like an OpenAI, like an Anthropic, they're all investing in their own data centers because they want to own the data centers, right? So, and then like I think Elon might disrupt like businesses like CoreWeave and all of that, and that's part of this value stack, like we see, right? OpenAI invests in CoreWeave, CoreWeave leases NVIDIA GPUs, so it's like this whole circle, but we don't see any mentions of xAI. It feels like xAI is just operating on itself. Like you have the big guys fighting, and then you have xAI on the other side. Is what's this saying of if two dogs fight for a bone, the third one runs with it. It might be, who knows, right? Might be the case here in the AI race as well. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with xAI in this whole story.
Yeah, no, that super interesting. And like Elon's whole philosophy when it comes to AI data centers, I guess, is that you can power the solar, right, 24/7, since the solar panels are running all the time instead of, I guess, half the time. I don't know. It doesn't really seem to make any sense that you can be able to launch all of the components up into space and it's gonna like be feasible. I just asked ChatGPT like kind of even give me like a quick rundown, like like quick rundown math of how much it would cost versus right now. And yeah. So on Earth, typical costs, facility build, 10 to 40 million dollars. Server and GPU is this. So basically the total on Earth cost would be 60 million to 325 million. Whereas in space, if we're doing the equivalent 10 megawatt power data center, the launch cost, which is 1,000 tons, right, 2,500 per kilogram. This is what we're showing. It would be 3.5 to 5.5 billion dollars versus $150 million on Earth. So I don't know. Like, unless Elon is thinking about something that we're not, I just don't see a path where this could even make any sense. What do you guys think about this?
I heard that that it's not Elon talking about data centers in space, but the Google guys and everyone is now thinking about data centers in space. So there must be some economical thing that we oversee in this
what I what
calculation.
I what I think is maybe people are excited about with it is that it means that the energy we're using on Earth can be used for other purposes beyond AI, right? So yeah, we need to like countries need to scale up their power generation, and it's not just the US; it's the whole world, except for a few places, that are energy rich. Most of the world is quite energy
Hmm.
poor. So I think that's where this comes from, because there's a lot of pushback even politically from citizens. No one wants a data center that's close to their city or their town, because that automatically puts more stress on their grid, puts up their competition for water and electricity in their area. So I think maybe on paper the math on Earth makes a lot more sense, but maybe there's just more bureaucracy, which means that it's more difficult. And if you're talking about people like Elon Musk, who 2.5 billion to get 1 megawatt in space, maybe that's crazy to think about the return on investment. But I guess if you can prove that it works in 15, 20, 30 years, then maybe the economics start to make sense. So yeah, I think it is a insane idea, and like maybe the numbers, as you, well, I didn't think they were that ridiculous, but they look ridiculous. But I think that's where the interest comes from, is that we're feeling the pressures of our planet, and
Hmm.
kind of this is the next level.
Yeah, that's a great point. I do think the bottleneck is indeed the energy. There just isn't enough energy to keep this all going at this or accelerating at the space that we are accelerating it now. And Elon is looking out of the box or out of Earth to other solutions. And I think that's basically it. The US can only generate that much power. I think China is running faster in the power race with other sources, but that's not really available in the US. Or if they want to implement that or build that, that's going to take years and years. And at the current pace of AI improvements and speed, just can't really do that. And I guess Elon sees it as a opportunity to build it in space, and he has a tech to do it. So, yeah,
It's so
um,
smart.
that's gonna
Yeah.
be exciting. Ben, you got the
Did you
last?
see it? Yeah, yeah, yeah. The last point on this, it really got me hyped up. Just this was in the Cheeky Pint interview where uh, I think the interviewer said something to Elon like first it was Starlink, like you had this idea of putting internet up there, and then now it's putting data centers in space, and he just asked Elon like what where is this coming from? And Elon paused, and then he goes, you can see why I think we're in a simulation now. And he's just like, it feels like a video game. It's not the hardest video game, but it's a video game, right? You just got to get to the next level and do the next thing until we can get there to Mars, right? Which is his end goal. So yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know. That was pretty
and
awesome to see.
somehow he always finds like his next undertaking or his next business, and then returns cash flow to build the next thing and the next thing to then come to his end goal to go to Mars. But in the meantime, he is sending the whole world supplies to space, and then we're gonna build a base on the moon, and we're having satellites meanwhile disrupting the old ISPs, internet service providers, and all of that, right? So yeah, it,
Yeah.
it does seem like a game for him, which is pretty cool. That's very, very 4D chess. um, I think the next topic could be we stay in the OpenAI lane, and OpenAI Sam Altman, and Anthropic CEO, did not want to touch hands in India. I think that's maybe meme of the week in AI land. I'll share my screen here. Let's make it a bit bigger. But you clearly see why is this? Is this two children that don't want to hold hands, or what's behind this? What's the opinions here, guys?
Rick, why don't you play it back? Let's just look one more time. Like who's instigating it? Like who do we think is more involved with like not wanting to hold hands?
Okay, I think personally, I think it's Sam
Yeah, I do
who
too.
doesn't want.
I think Dario, if you play it back, Dario is looking kind of to see if they're gonna touch hands,
Dario
but
was just
I don't know.
so stiff, man. Like he's just standing there, like his deer in front of headlights. Like his body language looks like he's internally going to, slap someone. But yeah, I think Sam must have got under his skin. That's what it looks like to me. I think his he looks to me like he's having fun in the situation because he's closer to the Indian Prime Minister. So he's like, I got a good spot. And the guy of Anthropic is just like, damn it, why did I get next to him?
I do wonder how much this is related to the whole OpenClaw thing that happened literally 24 hours, 48 hours before. Because what you end up seeing is Claude Bot was renamed to OpenClaw because Dario, the CEO of Anthropic and kind of Anthropic, didn't want OpenClaw to be named Claude Bot. It sounded too similar to Claude. And so now they rename it something that actually sounds kind of similar to OpenAI, OpenClaw, and next thing you see is Peter Steinberger selling his company to OpenAI, right? So I don't know. It's pretty interesting, like the confluence of events here. And even latest, I don't know if you guys saw this. Like Anthropic has changed their terms of service to make it so that you can't use your subscription towards OpenClaw anymore, right? So this is getting pretty heated between the two.
Yeah, I can't understand their move over there, and I'm on the fence on whether it's because they're just being very cautious about the risks of OpenClaw that come along with it. The risks to the users, because at the end of the day, I think OpenClaw is really driving up the usage of these models. I mean, most people I know who are working with OpenClaw, they were spending 100 plus, sometimes 300, sometimes 1,000 credits, dollars in credits per day on Anthropic's, Opus. So I can't understand what motivated them to be so aggressive in blocking access and preventing users from using it. Other than they're just very concerned about privacy and security. Now, if OpenClaw under OpenAI is rushed too fast towards the average user, and there is consequences for moving that fast, then maybe it will backfire on OpenAI. But we're yet to see if that will happen, because I think OpenAI is probably going to try create some closed version of OpenClaw that they'll be able to distribute to their average users, and maybe that works out, maybe it doesn't. We'll have to see. But yeah, I'm sure OpenClaw will have its open source repo that people who are a bit more technical could then decide if they want to use OpenAI's codex or the Anthropic API if they still allow it, or maybe XAI for coding.
But do you really think the non-handshake has to do with the OpenClaw acquisition or a fight on OpenClaw, or is it more like maybe Sam took the Super Bowl ad personal? Because that's another thing we might be thinking about, right? Where Anthropic had a pretty funny Super Bowl ad, I think, or a few Super Bowl ads as like cheap shots to OpenAI. One of them is like, yeah, we don't have ads, and there was some other topics that went through it. But do you think? And actually, I didn't really see those ads until I saw Sam's message about it. How he was so not liking those ads, and Sam's message actually made those ads spread much further than the ads would have actually go if he didn't make that message. Because I saw that message on Twitter, and that's when I went to YouTube and searched for the Anthropic Super Bowl ad. Otherwise, I wouldn't have seen it. So, do you think maybe Sam took that a bit personal, and is that why he didn't want to hold hands? Or maybe it's a combination of all of it, but I think it's a bit childish, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, this feud probably has been going back for a few years. I think Dario, I'm reading that he left OpenAI in 2021. He was there from 2016 to 2021, and he basically left with his sister because he had disagreements about kind of how how the company should be going, and disagreements basically about the direction of where they should be going. Um, I don't know. I'm curious. Like, what do you guys think? Like, what is if we had to guess what their philosophies are? Like Dario and Sam, how do they differ? Like, I've been trying to think about that. Is one more kind of conscious about the world than the other? Is it coming from like a different place? Like, which one's more like woke, if you will? Like, do you guys have? I have my thoughts, and I'm happy to share as well. But I'm curious to know what you guys think about like how Sam and Dario kind of think about this differently.
Luke, I want to go first.
From my perspective, Sam seems like a very move fast, break things kind of person. I think to me that became very obvious with how he handled Sora, where he just launched it and you could create these realistic videos using anyone's likeness, and then they went for an opt-out method where you had to actually ask them not to use your likeness if you're a celebrity or something like this. And to me, that was like a very risky thing to do, but it generated a lot of attention for him. So I think that's what Sam is always thinking about. He's always growth mindset, even if there's consequences, he takes those big risks. To me, Anthropic then seems like they really wanted to build this relationship of trust, and they sometimes used a bit of fear to build that trust. So they would be talking about the consequences of AI this taking over the world, and how we are going to build something that's safe and secure. But I don't see a really interesting philosophy out of Anthropic. It's for me, they feel very corporate, their philosophy. If I was a corporate company, I'd feel comfortable working with Anthropic. But then just to add my own one last thing is then for me the philosophy of XAI is the best thing it has. Truth seeking. What could be better than that? So I wish more AI companies maybe adopted something similar, or maybe they don't need to, and it's good to have different options.
Yeah, I got that, but I think I'll take the other side of this. I think my View between Sam, OpenAI, and then Dario of Anthropic is more where Sam, I don't even want to compare it to Sam Bankman-Fried, but is more in a seat of lobbying for power, where Anthropic took a totally different direction and said, okay, we're going after coding of AI, where ChatGPT had the consumer. So ChatGPT as a consumer, Anthropic focused on coding, and then over time, AI actually, OpenAI figured like, oh damn, coding is actually the first thing that's going to be completely disrupted. We got to go after that as well. Meanwhile, OpenAI has all the consumers and all the ChatGPT users, but I think Sam is sort of lobbying in his for as well. Like he recently announced or proposed to have a global oversight agency because countries are moving too slow putting regulations in place. Like I think that's like also for his personal benefit. Yes, it's for the benefit of the world, but I assume he also gonna very much benefit with this, right? And I'm wondering if he's gonna allow an Anthropic on that agency as well, or if he wants to be the guy that chooses who is on that board. While if you compare the user base, ChatGPT versus Anthropic, a lot of people don't even know what the fuck Claude is, right? We're living in a bubble of solopreneurs who are building our own tools. We know what Claude is, and we know Claude is amazing for coding, but 95% of the people only use ChatGPT, right? So I feel like, yeah, it's a bit of, oh, what was
Yeah.
it? Yes.
Look at this. Look at this. So
Awesome
it's like
chart.
70 versus 3. Yeah. So this in the last 3 months, basically 70 people for every 3 people search Claude. I actually thought super, but what I actually thought was super interesting about this is like if you fast forward to now, Claude's up to 8, right? And ChatGPT's at 87. So ChatGPT has gone up what, 15% in terms of search volume since 3 months ago. Meanwhile, Claude's gone up 120%. So I don't know. There's definitely a shift here, and to me, it does seem like Claude is really gaining on it, and it makes sense, right? Like engineers are oftentimes like the early adopters when it comes to technologies, but then when everyone catches on, and when the best product that's working not only in the software space, but now software is eating AI is eating software, right? And so the AI is basically creating a better all around holistic AI solution for anyone, basically, like LLM based, right? Claude to me is where I mean, I deleted Claude basically. I deleted ChatGPT from my applications on my computer, on my phone, and I'm just using Claude, and it just seems to work so much better.
Yeah, there's another graph that basically shows similar numbers as what you shared, right? I don't know what the specific time date and time is, but this tweet is from February 4th. It's a huge difference, but then if you think about revenues, they're like Anthropic makes huge revenues because they have the best coding models, and they realize coding is what the internet is built on, and the internet is super valuable. That's what's gonna and everything is code. That's what my housemate here said as well. He's building an AI as well. He said, I recently realized everything is code. Images are code, videos are code, and you can basically automate everything these days with code. Video editing can be done with code, motion design can be done with code, photography can be done with code, photo editing can be done with code, and Cloud Code is just the frontier in that for now still. And yeah, OpenClaw came close, but then still OpenClaw only works good if you use Anthropic models, right? Other models, your OpenClaw is kind of gonna break. You want Claude models to run your OpenClaw brain. Yes, it's gonna cost a lot, but you hear all the people that are doing the OpenClaw or that are shilling OpenClaw on Twitter now. They're saying, yeah, you have to use Claude or Opus 4.5, 4.6. Otherwise, you're probably going to waste a lot of tokens trying to fix things. Like you need a smart brain, and this is Claude. Claude is the smartest brain out there.
If I had to say, I'd say that that is kind of why OpenClaw is maybe so important for people to understand, because it seems like the best model is not going to be something stable, at least not for the next 5 years or 10 years. I don't know, maybe forever. So I think it's important that we understand that OpenClaw gives you that ability to own your data, own the structures you are building, the processes you are building. And if you want to swap out the underlying model, the only way to do that and not have to start from scratch is by owning your own server where your conversations are stored, your tone of voice is understood, and that custom agent of yours at the end of the day is built on top of the best model out there combined with your personal information and data. So I think that's why OpenClaw is so important. But again, like, it doesn't have to be OpenClaw that people use. There, like, it's just the concept of it.
And I think even like a step further than that, what I'm looking for is some sort of what call it sign in with OpenAI or sign in with Google, but like being able to attach your authentication to this kind of OpenClaw memory portfolio that you have. I don't know how that kind of manifests, but to me, that was one of the promises of Web3 and being able to like move your keys to every single platform. And OpenClaw is kind of in that direction. One of the biggest things that people ask me, especially people who are not as technical in AI, they're always like, how do you keep up? Like, how do you know when to switch to the next thing? And it's a valid concern because when you're constantly moving to the next flashy thing, you're like starting over. And to me, like, if OpenClaw was able to, which is pretty well suited at this point, to be able to like house all of your information, and now you can bring that to somewhere else, that would be amazing.
And not to forget that the price of tokens and the how good a model is, like compared to the price of tokens, the models go like this and the price of the tokens go like this, right? I saw a tweet about this yesterday or the day before, where they compared the price of 1,000,000 tokens at GPT-3 3 years ago versus GPT 5.2 right now. It's like it's an immense difference in terms of capabilities, and it's cheaper to use now. And like we always say in the AI space, like AI is the worst that it will ever be today, right? It's only going to get better. If you think about it, Opus 4.5 was such a leap. Opus 4.6 changed the game as well. Now you have Sonnet 4.6, which makes your brain much cheaper already in our OpenClaw, right? It burns much less tokens now if you use Sonnet 4.6 than if you used Opus. So these things, like, if it goes so fast that like we don't even know what's going to happen in a week from now. Like you say, there might be another DeepSeek moment happening. In my opinion, OpenClaw was another DeepSeek moment, right? And like Opus 4.6 coming out is a bit of a DeepSeek moment where they call it SaaSmageddon, right? You see all the SaaS stocks dropping 20, 50% literally in the public markets because Anthropic is doing such a good job at releasing models. OpenClaw is destroying small SaaS applications. People can now rebuild their whole tech stack internally. They don't have to rely on other applications. So yeah, things just move so fast, and cost of tokens are going to go down. The quality of models are going to go up. And in 3 years from now, like, yeah, I cannot even imagine. Like we are already at a point where AI can almost do everything. I'm wondering how much further this can go.
Yeah, Elon has this like this prediction that in a few years from now, almost every line of code is just rendered from an AI on the fly, right? So this whole thought of code doesn't really exist anymore. It's just kind of providing you with exactly what you want to see when you want to see it. And that's kind of where we're almost at, right? I saw, yeah, you brought up Mark Cuban, I know, as one of the docket things, and he's really been echoing this. And it does, I don't know, it does bring pause for concern for someone like me who's a SaaS developer and who's got these products. Like, and are these going to be relevant in a few years? Like, I don't know. I mean, I go back and forth because on one side, I do feel like they should, yes, the UIs can render very nicely and the databases, but there's something about user experience, like how human of a level is user experience that can you really emulate that in AI as well as we think? Like, I'm not sure.
But what, like, there is user experience best practices that we've been learning over time, and that's all been put into courses and into practice and into literally apps and web apps, right? So if I would design a user experience now as a designer, I would find the most popular app on the App Store and I would recreate that user experience. And that's what an AI can do as well. So I think an AI user experience is just as human as a human created user experience these days. Yes, you can still see for some that it's vibe coded, but for many, I can literally go and take screenshots of an app, put my own branding on top of that, and I have the user experience that goes viral or that works best, right? So is that what you mean with user experience? Because that's
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I've yet to see like so all these demos, you brought up the Rork one as well. All of these demos of like showing a flashy like thing on the screen, like that's like Twitter especially obsesses over UI and design and things that are tangible and visible, right? But what I've yet to see is something with like an AI quality assurance testing bot that can go in and literally click around like a human, and find every single like dead end and all of that. To me, like that's where we need to get to before any of these AI solutions are going to be like production ready, right?
But I've been using Google Anti-Gravity for that. And when I, like 6 months ago, when we were vibe coding together here, like we still had to like push something, test it locally, click ourselves and say, oh, this button doesn't work. Now Google Anti-Gravity just opens a new tab, starts clicking around, takes a screen record and puts that into the implementation plan of like, hey, here's what I did. I tested it and here's a screen recording. How much more do we need?
Mm,
Yeah, I mean
I want to see that.
the most out there thing I heard was about this because yeah, I guess AI is eating up software and SaaS etc. But I even read this week that some people think operating systems are not secure either. You know, you imagine you buy a new device and it has no operating system, and through conversation with your device, you slowly build your own customized OS. I don't know. That's a bit out there for me at this point, but I can. It doesn't seem impossible when people are already one-shotting Windows XP
Mm.
using Claude Opus, you know?
Like I like that you say operating system because that's very much what I'm looking into now, and also sort of a realization where 2024 was basically productize yourself, right? This was the whole thing in the solopreneur and like the service industry of like you got to productize yourself and teach people like through courses and through other ways to to transfer your skills. But now I believe like you can basically OS yourself, operating system, like figure out what's your operating system. And that's not only in terms of business, but also your life, right? You can literally create a whole operating system around yourself, plug in all the data points from your work, different projects that you're working on, from your health, from your notebook. All of these things can be put into one operating system, a central brain. And with an OpenClaw, you can connect it all. Basically, what I've been trying to build for myself now is what my virtual server. That's the folder. Learning a lot on Twitter about note taking and the rack systems and how to make memory work and connect all of those dots. And then you can literally go from a note in Telegram to your OpenClaw, working through it, checking out your memory of what does that node have to do with previous things that you've done, or finding correlations. And at a certain point, if you take your data seriously and you collect it correctly and you sort it correctly, then we've never seen this in history where you can have so much knowledge about yourself or about projects that you've been working on or whatever. But the most important thing is that thing, data structure and data architecture. And that's where it's going to come back to. Same in business, same in like corporations. And this is this Mark Cuban thing as well, right? That we said that I want to touch on, where customized AI integrations are basically key. And that's what I'm sort of focusing on now as well, is all these businesses. There's so many businesses that have been going through digitization project, like a whole trajectory of digitizing their operations. There's many businesses that have been around for 20 years. They have their clients. Over the past 10 years, they had to go through a whole trajectory of getting their manual processes online and the cloud to go over and everything in the cloud. But now, if they don't start using AI, they're going to get left behind as well. Or at least they're not going to get the revenues and the productivity that they could have. And I think that's what Mark Cuban is pointing to. They have so much data, but they don't do much with it. Or they have so many manual processes still, but they don't know how to map those processes. And if you don't have processes mapped, you don't really know what you can automate. And there's still a human in the loop required to do that. Like, you cannot send an AI into a company and say, okay, who's working on what process, who's doing what, who is doing what. And I think that's a huge opportunity, and that's basically this clip. We could watch it if we want. Okay, let's watch the Mark Cuban clip.
Every single time. How you implement it in business is a whole different issue. Like literally when I was 24, I was walking into companies who had never seen a PC before in their lives and explaining to them the value, and having these guys going, well, son, I got this receptionist right there. I got that secretary. I'm never going to need that shit ever. Right. And then, my business then was helping them figure out how to implement it to give them an advantage. Yep. There are going to be integrators that, particularly young kids, like when I'm telling my kids who are 15, 18, 21 or 19, 21, and kids going to school, what should I do? What should I do? I'd be like,
AI research.
Learn all you can about AI, but learn more on how to implement them in companies, right? Because to your point, companies don't understand how to implement all that right now to get a competitive advantage. You got the head of Microsoft saying software is dead because everything's going to be customized to your unique utilization, right? Or usage. Who's going to do it for them? Particularly small to medium-sized businesses. There are 33 million companies in this country. 30 million of them are solopreneurs, right? Single person enterprise.
So yeah, that's basically what I just said as well, right? And it's so true. I've been seeing this. I know quite a lot of people that have agencies doing these, helping projects or helping businesses going digital. But there is another layer on top of that, and that's what he describes now. Luca, you had something to say.
Yeah, no, we're all quite young, but we're nearing 30, so we haven't been like in school for over 10 years, longer than 10 years. But I imagine that the same thing that young people who are immersed in it from adolescence, they're going to be very fluent in the technology. And although it's not an age thing, you can be older and pick up this AI stuff if you had the time to learn it. I think that wave of the workforce, when it enters the workforce, the opportunities that are available today will be much more competitive, because today, obviously the knowledge is much more scarce. And it's kind of like, running Facebook ads back in 2013. You didn't need much skill or much budget, and you could do amazing things. You can still do amazing things with Facebook ads today. You just need to create a lot more higher quality content and better targeting and this sort of thing. So I think we'll see the same thing with this AI stuff, low-hanging fruit for the next 5-10 years. If you step your game up, this could be something you do long term, but it does get more competitive the more people are able to leverage the tools. Because I don't feel that special when I'm using some of these AI tools. I just feel like I'm pushing buttons, and I now understand how the prompts work and how to structure things. But if I spent 5 years in education and this was a part of your curriculum, this is going to be peanuts for everybody.
Rick, what about you? I know you were toying with maybe kind of going into this path, and I'm curious, in Belgium, have you explored that, or have you thought about that? Because to me, that just revalidates it, right? Like, dude, I think that would be an amazing opportunity to go into.
Yeah, I've actually have a call right after this one with a friend. He runs a short form content agency, and we are in discussions of how we can help them implement AI for getting better at what they do, to make their team more productive, to do also the analytics layer better. Because right now there is a bunch of tools that, this is the way we look at it. They serve a client, which are quite big clients, but then they have to do everything from content creation to then the analytics to running ads to then retargeting and all of that stuff. But it's all very scattered. It's different tools, and there's different people in the loop, and there's different briefings that have to be sent around to UGC creators and all of that stuff. So we're looking okay, how we can map the processes, how we can make them more productive, how we can get better outputs, but also how we can reuse content and add a analytics layer to it, where everything still starts brands want to see humans, right? So brands don't want to go and jump on AI faces straight away. You cannot jump on, you cannot create AI content if you have a beauty brand, for example. So it all starts with human content, but then the extra layer is the tracking of the content, and then rating which content does well, repurposing that through AI. And that can be done through video, through newsletters, through pictures, and then the ball gets rolling. So that's what we are exploring now, but that's just one side. I think for those companies, there is some other value to be offered, and that could be helping their team stay up to date with the latest tools. Many of those companies have Google Suite, for example, but they've never used AI Studio, Google AI Studio, or they've never used Notebook LM, right? They're just using Gemini or email. I think personally that one other opportunity could be that just giving bi-weekly workshops to internal teams. That's another thing that I think could be very valuable to make teams more productive and work with the tools they already have. Because you don't want to have these companies or those people start using new tools, because then you're just adding friction on friction on friction. Like, you got to make them more productive with the tools that they already have, because every time you introduce something new, it's going to be a pain in the ass for everyone. So I think those are the two. Yeah, I'm now in discussion with the content one. There's another one that I'm thinking about, but that's a bit more challenging, where like if there are real systems, like bigger systems already implemented, you got to figure out like it's the open data versus closed data, which is similar to the content one, right? Where you have meta ads, which is pretty closed data platform. So you cannot just pull meta ads data into your dashboard. You still need to use different tools, but there must be ways to make life easier for the people behind those buttons. You don't need multiple people in the whole process. I think you can get to a point where you can link a lot of things together, and you need one smart data marketeer that then can pull together the right data and then say, okay, this is a top 5 performing piece of content. We're going to reproduce this. And then it's just a few clicks and boom, gets reproduced, and it's an automation and all of that stuff. And then it gets tested again. But thanks to AI, you can test everything super fast, and you can create hundreds pieces of copy, 100 pieces of visuals, like you guys know pretty well, right? Especially Luca, I think that's been your business. So yeah, that's basically what we're focusing on right now. The last thing to mention there is the hardest part is I'm talking now to a friend, old classmate, our age, but it's not easy to talk to legacy businesses to convince them to say, hey, you're going to need AI. They are going to need AI, and they're going to need AI and automations. And they need to map their processes, but they don't care. Even though their business is going to break if they leave the business or if they want to sell it. Like, their business is not going to be worth as much as it is now if they're going to sell their business, because they are the key person. So automation and AI and a good operating system for the business is the solution. But they don't really see it, and that's a hard sell somehow to make them realize. But I think over the next 2 years, many will realize it. It's just like Mark Cuban says, you need someone walking in there, map all the processes, create a business operating system to then find what can we improve on the existing tool stack to then make them better.
Yeah. To me, OpenClaw is like an amazing unlock for being able to do these types of like outreach marketing things, right? Because like, just think about this. You could like connect a resend API, right? Resend for email marketing, email outreach. You could connect that with like a Next.js Vercel project. You could identify, using Brave, the API, Brave Search API, like identify for me the top plumbing companies in your country, in your state, wherever it is, right? And then you can literally analyze it, ask your Claude bot to analyze all these web pages, tell me which websites look the worst, build out a web page, send them the email, say, hey, I actually just happened to stumble on your site and I like found your website and I just rebuilt it for you. Like, what do you think? If you want to buy this, click this button, pay $500, and then we'll send that code to you and we'll set it up for you in the next like 24 hours. But like, if you extract that out to like so many other different industries, to me, I don't know. I think OpenClaw is like, it's truly this first agentic thing where the old way of just doing just email outreach and saying, hey, Luca, I just built this thing. Just why don't you reply and then I'll figure it out after. You just actually send it to them with that first send, right? And there are so many different ways that you could market something by like building out a proof of concept that's super, it doesn't look like AI slop anymore, right? It doesn't look like, hey, I noticed Rick that you spent X amount of years here and then Y amount of years there, right? Like that's like the AI slop like email outreach, but this is like real tangible benefits that they could see. I don't know. To me, I like there's no better of a time. Like even as like a SaaS builder, I'm like so tempted every day to say like, why don't I just go look for really legacy businesses that are need like I think a lot of them probably do want to embrace AI. They just don't even know how to go about it. So if you could prove to them and say, hey, for every X amount of hours that we can save as the company, you would have to obviously agree with it with them. Go in there, find some savings. I'm sure you could find savings everywhere, everywhere, right? You just gotta like this is the best. This is almost the best time. It's ironic, but I feel like this is the best time to go door to door sales is with AI, right? It's just going in there and then saying, if you are willing to just walk around with me for an hour and show me your processes, I guarantee you that I can save you $10,000 a year. You could do
Yeah.
that in any business, right? It's pretty
I
cool.
agree on the last one that you say of like walking in and telling them how we can say make you save this much if I just walk with you for an hour. But I think the earlier explanation that you gave, where like you automate the whole process of like you scrape a website and you create a new one or you improve that stuff. I feel like my Instagram is literally full of that, of like basically the dropship generation doing this now. Like, and there is like the go high level tools and there's automation tools, and they're like, yeah, so the best way to make 10K a month now is to you literally go on Google Maps and you find any type of niche and you find those that don't have a website, and then you scrape their website and send an email, and you can do that to 500 and then 50 sign up. Like, I don't really believe in that, and I don't think that's really how you like. There might be people that succeed in this, but I think there's a lot of people trying this, and I'm yet to see results. I've also seen some tweets about this, and their conversion is below 2%. So then I'm wondering, maybe you spend more in tokens than you actually make if you do this one sale out of every 100 emails that you send out. So yeah, I think the business processes mapping is more for me. But there's so many opportunities, like you say, indeed, like plug and play. If you know what tools are there, like resend and scraping and firecrawl. Luca, you're a big fan of that one, right? Like if you can combine the tools out there, then yeah, for sure you can provide value. It's just, what market do you want to go after? And that's something we've been thinking about as well a lot. Like, do we want to go after real estate? Do we want to go after e-commerce? Do we want to go after certain like specific industries, niches? There's so many opportunities out there, but you got to pick, you got to choose. And then I would look at it now from like, what's actually the easiest one to get a yes? Because if we go after real estate, I don't have much knowledge of real estate. I know what I can improve in their processes, but I've never really talked to real estate agents as much. So I would much rather talk to someone that I know that I can get a yes from, which is to start off with someone in your network, right? And then you can build your use cases. And then once you have your use cases, you have something to show for. And that's how you approach the next layer, the second layer of connections, I would call it. But I feel like the cold outreach side, like it's pretty challenging. I've never really succeeded in cold outreach. I feel hesitant. Maybe I would even pick up the phone rather than email people. I think I probably would have more success if I just call and try to do 10 calls a day or 100 calls a day than to cold email.
Yeah, I don't know. I tried when initially with Sales Echo, I tried saying, "Oh, I'm going to dog food my own product. I'm going to just start cold calling plumbing companies, plumbers." This was right after Stephen Bartlett came out with the this Diary CEO episode with like the Godfather of AI, and he said like, "Be a plumber," right? So I was like, "Oh shit! Like, let me go talk to plumbers because they're probably going to be around for a while." And I just started cold calling them. And I come from a product background, not sales at all. But I was like, let me use Sales Echo. Let me try to sell my product or at least see if they have any opportunity there. Right. And I started calling people, and time after time, they just kept saying, oh, well, everything is great. Like, we're totally happy with what we have. Right. So I couldn't get any feedback into what people actually need, plumbers in this sense. So I don't know. There's got to be a better way to like unlock. I'm with you. It's like through your network probably, and then from that first person, you get another one, another client, and all that. Yeah.
we're talking here about service now, right? So I come at it from a more like offering a service to a business. You come from it as a software as a service. And then maybe we can go towards, like, let's talk about the Rork for a little moment, because it looks impressive. And I think they've done amazing marketing because it's all over my feed. But introducing Rork Max, AI that one-shots almost every every iPhone, Apple Watch, iPad, Apple TV, Apple Vision Pro, even Pokemon Go with AR. Max replaces Xcode. Xcode was pretty challenging to build in. I tried this before. Was not easy to get an app from idea to application and then actually onto the App Store. And they make it easy. They claim they can do it in 2 clicks. It looks amazing. I'll just play the clip for a little moment. But yeah, long story short, if it gets very easy to build iPhone applications now, there is a lot of interesting niches that you can target. And I've been saying for jokes like...
Yeah, it's hard to hear you, Rick, while that video is playing. Yeah.
Okay, I'll put off the sound. So if it gets very easy to launch any app to iPhone, then you actually got to go, like I would say, go from it, like who do you want to sell to? And that's actually how selling goes, right? Who is your your ideal customer profile? And build for that person. There's been many joke tweets about built for babies or built for children or built for women that are in their midlife crisis because they don't think about spending with their credit cards, right? And it's always like the hurdle has always been, yeah, but how do I build an iPhone app? Like vibe coding was easy to create web apps. But now if you can create any iPhone app, like I think this is going to unlock another level of app builders and people going from idea to application in literally a few clicks, and it looks so nice. Maybe this is just the preview, but yeah, I want to try this. What are you guys thinking?
How much does this cost? I'm curious to know. From
$20,
like a token.
and it's actually free. Yeah. They made it free for tryout. They just tweeted, we just made Rork Max free to try for a limited time. Enjoy.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
To me, this is just lovable, but lovable connected with like some sort of. By the way, that shot when you're playing it full screen, like that's awesome. I bet you that'll do the best if we were to clip. I think, Rick, like if we're doing those videos and then we have us back there, like people will 100% watch that. Yeah. But to me, this is just lovable. But now we've gone like a step forward and we're going past websites, and now they're handling all of the kind of developer licensing stuff that goes along with it, which is awesome to see. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I go back to like how many websites do you guys operate or interact with on a daily basis that were built off Lovable? I don't know of any. Like I don't know any apps that are like one-shotted, lovable style, like really, but maybe they're lovable and we don't even know it. To me, I think that that's probably what will happen, but there will be that one example. Like I think I saw the one example of lovable where the guy has like $100,000 a month business with the pets and the portraits for the pets. This could be something similar, but it's super cool, and it's such an interesting concept. They probably have a template and then they're just replacing that template for each app. That would be my guess.
Yeah, it just looks sleek, right?
It's obviously I think they nailed the kind of the product market fit in a sense. Like they know what audience they're targeting. But then I know obviously people have been vibe coding apps on the App Store for the past year or two now. So I don't think what is possible is unique, but they probably made it so much easier that you need to do less prompting and adjusting because it just knows how to put it together with a boilerplate or something like this.
Yeah, I think they democratized it. If it's true that you can do this for $20, like I remember the vibe code app, and that's basically how you and me both got sort of into vibe coding, right, Ben, with Riley Brown. That was still quite pricey to actually get the credits and the right models to build an app, and this was 6-7 months ago when models were not that good yet. But if they now templatized building apps, and like, as you know, like sometimes an app is nothing more, like an AI-powered app is nothing more than a change in a context prompt, then anyone can actually build apps, and then it becomes a game of distribution. Like pick the right audience, pick the right use case, and try to sell it to that audience, right? Like I one-shotted an app in Google AI Studio recently where like I wanted to transcribe my dreams. to get a notebook of dreams, basically, and then later have an AI to analyze my different dreams that I had. Literally one-shotted that in Google AI Studio, and it plugged in an AI analysis on that. Now, this is a web app. If I could have that on iPhone, I would actually use it, And then I think there's 35 to 40-year-old women that also want to use that. So I've been joking for I want to sell to older women to build apps for older women, because I think that's a good target audience. But stuff like this is gonna enable that.
It's cool. Yeah, like the flight tracker one, like Flighty. I was looking at that app and it's like, to me, like Flighty, it looks exactly like it, and it doesn't feel like you should really have to pay for an app like that. So if someone just created that and just made it free and figured out a way to get some ads, I think that would do pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe we go into a last topic, a quick one. It's on the same topic. Google just released Gemini 3.1 Pro, and I've seen some examples of the motion design in there, and it just looks beautiful. Yes, maybe the improvement is not huge, but it's beautiful. And just by releasing a new model like this, it enables so many other apps in the AI app layer to also improve. So you have Google Gemini 3 Pro, but then you have Replit, who uses Gemini 3 Pro in their tech stack. And then it becomes they now just launched Replit Motion Design, where back in the days when you wanted some motion designs, you pay a designer $1,000, $2,000 per video, and now you can literally create one of those in 10 minutes with Replit, describing what you want. A launch video costs you $1 to make. You can probably even screen record your website, and it maps out the whole video, and it tells you what's the best launch video. So this is another one. If you're a motion designer, are you going to lose your job? Should you start using Replit to create motion designs, or should you just start praying and learn something else? Because this looks fucking awesome. Everyone needs motion design, right? And this comes back to everything is code as well, what we said earlier. Everything is code.
I think people who are just focusing on having one skill are in the biggest risk, because if you just bank on being very good at one thing and charging high prices to do that one thing, I don't know. I feel like we're living in a generalist world now, where it's very good to be good at one thing and do it better than everyone else. But then you need to be able to do 6 other things that make that one thing useful. I think people need to become a package. They can't just be a one-dimensional person anymore. You need to be a package.
Skill stacking.
Yeah, and for me here, I'm looking at it from my kind of trajectory and what I was able to do with design, right? So when I first started building Cover Letter Copilot, I was basically building these UIs, these designs in Canva, right? This was before AI could do any type of image generation, and then really kind of the first jump forward, I would say, was probably with Nano Banana Pro, and being able to then take UIs, take designs, right? And just generating them. But then what ended up happening a few months ago, Claude Opus 4.5 came out, and Sonnet 4.5, and you could actually build SVGs, right? So a lot of designs are not actual PNGs or JPEGs, they're just SVGs. And what SVGs are, I tried looking it up. It's basically a text form of an illustration, and they're so good at designing things just even with lines and basically the computer drawing. And so I now don't even use Nano Banana Pro, right? I'm just using SVGs. This is the next step past there, where it feels like it's kind of combining this SVG world with the Nano Banana Pro world, and then being able to create graphics, right? So it's just what are videos? It's just stacked images on top of each other, and that's what it seems like it's doing here. Yeah.
No, exactly. The SVGs is a big unlock once you start using these. It's basically the vectors, right? It's what you can create in Figma by adding some squares together and some circles together and have a gradient layout. But then go from SVGs to React components, which is basically turning these SVGs into a moving piece. And I think that's basically how Replit built this, right? This is a combination of SVGs turned into React components that then become a video. So it's incredible to see. And it comes back to everything is code. And I don't know if you'd played around with Remotion, which is another AI model that's actually great at video editing and that can create those things for you as well. So maybe that's the open source version of this. Yeah, super interesting to see, and also how one unlock in a certain tech stack can then unlock many other apps to improve their tools for their users.
I just still go back to like all of these advancements to me are go back to two things. It's like GPT 5 point whatever codex and Claude Code, right? Because if it wasn't for Claude Code and it wasn't for this, none of these things would be advancing so quickly as well. That's what I think, at least.
Yeah, but that's the distribution there for you. The models will improve, but if you've got the market and people will go to your app just gets better, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Have the users and then build from there.
yeah.
The very last one before we head out is, I have not listened to this myself yet, but I saw on Twitter and I'm very excited to listen to this. But Naval just posted a new podcast on AI and vibe coding. The topics seem interesting. If you want to learn how to do it, vibe coding is the new product management, and is basically what we've been saying for the last 6 months. Naval is confirming it, so we've been early. Awesome. There's no demand for average. The hottest new programming language is English. So I'm excited to listen to this. I think this is the listen of the week. We probably can discuss this on the next podcast. I'll add the link in the description as well. But this is definitely my go-to episode that I listen after I've listened to the All In podcast tomorrow. So yeah, guys, this was an awesome first episode. Thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to say? And otherwise, I think we can close it for here.
No, next week I think I'd hopefully if Anthropic doesn't ban me from their subscription, we could cut that out. But I want to start showing like I'm the next week I'm going to be going even harder with Claude or Claudebot, OpenClaw, and yeah, if it like my Telegram is just like 8 different chats with like 8 different employees that I have. And I feel like it would be pretty cool to show that off and show all these different people and like how they're all working for me. So yeah, there's that. And next week I'll wear my Laura Piano sweater, of course. And yeah, I think,
Nice.
yeah, that should
Yeah,
be
so
good.
yeah, that's a good point. We didn't, like, we talked a lot about OpenClaw, but we haven't really talked about how we implement this. And I just want to add here that Ben is actually the only, or the one person that I know that actually uses OpenClaw and makes his life much more productive. Where Twitter is full of hype and people buying Mac Minis and stacking up Mac Studios, but don't really see results. Where Ben, I think 2.5x his MRR just since he started OpenClaw, using OpenClaw. And he's been building some interesting use cases that I'm even excited about maybe using or offering to clients. So yeah, we would love to see that on the next episode. I think Luca has been using OpenClaw as well. You guys
Yeah,
have been
but
more
no,
successful.
I have not been moving the needle with it. So I just installing it in places. Recently, I stopped all of the cron jobs and the heartbeats because I wasn't managing it and it was just using up credits.
Hmm.
But yeah, I want to dive in and apply it on a day to day. So excited to see what you're doing, Ben. I think if you've got that structure of employees, that's the best way to make it work. And seeing your example is, I'm excited for it for next week myself now.
Yeah, me too. I've
Cool.
been yesterday I installed I reset my VPS for the third time to start from scratch again. So I hope by next week I've actually had my OpenClaw working for me instead of me working to try to make it work. But
Yeah.
yeah, awesome guys.
I'm on my third one too. It's crazy.
Oh,
Like you really
nice. I'm not alone.
have to just restart it. And the biggest takeaway that I have so far is like, don't give up. I don't think you should give up when you think you should, because it's basically like a baby that's just been born, right? The baby learns how to walk, it falls, it fucks up, right? And like the kind of step change that I'm seeing so far is like the first day it was messing up, the second day it was kind of messing up. I'm As long as you figure out the memory piece, you tell it every day. I've got Sam, she's my like head honcho chief of staff lady, and I say like, what did we learn from yesterday and what can we do better today? And then she keeps recursively improving kind of her prompts and her ideas. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I'm probably gonna run into more things, but like it truly is the first example where it's like it's getting better. It's learning by just failing, making mistakes.
Awesome. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Okay. This was the AI Techies podcast. I am the soon to be greatest moderator in the world. And we see you guys next week. Love you, besties.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 I'm going away.